We all have the love of aviation and would not trade it for anything in the world because somebody has taken the time out given to me. I feel it's my responsibility to reach back and pull someone up for the next generation.
Most pilots don't understand what career opportunities are available in the world of aviation. They're making career decisions based on advice from friends or posts on internet forums, meaning they are taking huge risks with their livelihood without having all the details. This podcast was created to help you understand the aviation industry so you can find your dream job. Let's get ready for Pushback. Here's your host and my dad, Nick Fialka.
All right, so we're here. So this is Jelamain and one of the Spitfire Precision Interview coaches working here with Isaac Square here at OBAP on Thursday as he gets ready for his interview tomorrow. So we were going to meet in the ready room, but I figured, hey, let's just come out here. We have the headset. We can kind of talk a little bit more quietly a little bit and be able to hear each other clear. I've been talking all weekend, so I don't have to raise my voice and be trying to speak over other folks coming in and out. But man, your interview's tomorrow. So I guess really the big thing from what we saw, what you talked about yesterday, was just wanting to get a few more reps, a little bit more practice in, building your confidence a little bit, and just being able to walk into the interview tomorrow and leaving it all there without feeling like, dang, did I mess something up? Was I not ready? So we'll do a couple actual, tell me about the time. So we'll do a couple of HR questions. I'll ask you a few tech stuff and see if you're feeling comfortable with that as well.
Okay.
But really, this is just a top off confidence booster, man. At this point, you're 24 hours out. So we want to start to relax, kind of chill out a little bit and start preparing and just sort of getting ready for the big day tomorrow. All right, now I don't want to stress you out too much. I just want you to kind of enjoy this, sit in this moment. It's just me and you having a conversation. Only difference is we just don't have any cold drinks. It's the cold drinks next to us, all right? So
fair enough.
And that's just how the interview is supposed to be. We're just sitting down, having a conversation without the cold drinks. All right, so we'll jump into a couple of them that I like to ask and throw out there. So first off, how do you feel about your intro and how do you feel about your why? I think those are two strong things that should come kind of second nature at this point in the game, and you shouldn't really need too much work for those.
So as far as my intro, I feel pretty good about that.
Good.
And my why, specifically why United, oh yeah, I definitely feel
all right, well, good then. So we're not going to bother that, you know what I'm saying? We'll just let it be. And so as long as you're hitting your timeline and they already kind of know who you are, they're not really grading you mostly on your why, right? It's how you formulate your stories, how you answer them, how you bring it all together using the STAR method and really just sort of making some good solid answers. So if you're ready, if you don't got no questions, all right, we're just going to jump in. We'll ask the first one, all right? Okay. Hey, tell me about a time that you helped make change in the organization.
Tell me about a time I've helped make change in the organization. This is definitely one thing I'm really proud of. At the time, I was in the Army Reserves. Brand new first lieutenant, just got back from BOLIC, and weird thing about me is I'm prior Air Force, so I made the transition to the Army with no real lead up to actually going in. So my first experience was my BOLIC, which is the equivalent to the Air Force's technical training.
Okay.
So I get back to my unit, and we're a maintenance company. We're about 180 strong. So I just got back. Hey, Lieutenant Square, you got all this experience with BOLIC. An issue we've been having is with our physical fitness. So the issue with being in the reserve or guard unit is these people are civilians, 28 days out of the month. So it's like we're hovering somewhere about 52% pass rate. So obviously our BC or battalion commander, he sees this and he wants this number to go up. So it's like, how do I, the prior Air Force guy, get a bunch of Army soldiers to be able to improve in their off time? So I had to draw back on my Air Force experience where you have a little bit more leeway to do things kind of on your own. So amongst myself and another one of my peers, it's like, what one can we take away initially from these soldiers to kind of send a message to them? And on drill weekends, it can be anywhere from a 16-hour day or it can be a normal duty day. So what we decided to do was, you know what, these soldiers that are habitually, failing their tests, we're going to keep them and we're going to run them through in the exercise class and nutrition management, which it was really boring because it ate into their time. So they didn't like that. What else did we do? We partnered everybody up with accountability buddies. So in your off time, you're responsible for reporting to your responsibility buddy to, hey, make sure that you go out and exercise. And I can't make them do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. So I'm included in on this. So as long as, we were communicating with each other, hey, I'm hitting my fitness goals, I'm losing weight, I'm feeling good, there's no reason why you shouldn't as well.
Yep.
So this was a process over about 8 months. So we jumped up initially from about 52 to about 64%.
Okay.
And in the time that I was there, we eventually got above a 75% pass rate over the course of a year. And something that, like I said, I'm already proud of this, but even more so, I still have some soldiers that were having issues now. They're still in, and they've promoted to E5 and to E6. So I'm still following them on social media. So it's like, I know I still have an impact on something I did no more than 6 or 7 years ago.
Nice. I like it, man. That's a great story. So we'll just break these down. We won't do interview style. I think right now it's just more hearing your stories, hearing how you put them together. And right now you sound great. So, you know what I'm saying? Pick yourself up a little bit, because you're talking about you needed some work, man. And that was great. You're speaking clear. I can understand your story. You're putting it together. I think the only thing that I'll add from that is just sort of bringing it back to the big picture of you're applying for an airline job, right? And so the attribute that you're highlighting in this story is the ability to take a task or see a problem, figure out where there's a need, and then be able to meet that need. Right. So with that, the result, yeah, you can definitely write some notes there if you got a pen and pad. Or just take a sip of water. That's good too. But the roundup at the end of this is that the wrap up at the end of this is like, hey, I'm happy and excited to see that the folks that I was able to help are still moving along. Right. They're still doing the jobs, they're promoting, they're getting their health in order, they're getting stronger, they're getting better. But that's the type of person that you are. Right. Because this is a question about organizations and how you help change an organization. But that's the person that you are. I see a problem. I figure out, hey, how can I fix this problem? I see a need. I figure out, hey, how can I help the people who are around me to meet this need? And so the organization as a whole can become better, because obviously fitness plays a role into your personal health, to longevity, to expenses for the military, for folks having to, going back and forth to the doctor. And so you not only shape that organization and help them, but you help the DOD and our defense at large, because that's what helps us not have such a big, large medical expense bill. 5 out of 5 on that answer. So there's a vote of confidence in you and that you knocked that question out of the park. I think you'll be just fine in that. You articulate, you say what you need to say, and it was pretty good. Let's see if I can put a little bit of heat on you and throw something else at you here. How about this? You ever witness anybody breaking a rule, flight rule, a SOP, or anything like that? What'd you do about it?
Ooh, I was hoping I would not get this question.
Well, first off, don't say that in the interview. Don't say that in the interview. So you can pause, collect yourself, gather your thoughts, and figure out how you want to approach this one.
Okay. So at the time, I'm a pretty new captain on the Embraer 175 at Mesa Airline. Just a few years ago, and don't remember where the trip was from, but the FO and I, we were briefing a visual approach into 16 right into Houston. So we're already on downwind, we're turning base, we're on final, we're behind a CRJ 200. And like I said, we had already briefed the visual approach, which the setup is going to be a little different. You plan for a missed approach. So we set the missed approach altitude at the time, it's going to be 1,600 feet. So the CRJ 200 had already landed and was getting ready to turn off the high-speed taxiway. And for whatever reason, my first officer, who was pilot flying, called for a go-around. Okay, so we execute the go-around. And I'm talking to Tower, letting him know, hey, we're going around. And for whatever reason, we already set 1,600. I saw him do it. And by the time we were going around, we were passing through 1,600 feet. And I saw that on my FMA. And shortly thereafter, Tower queried us, hey, why are you climbing past 1,600 feet? And I see that he had set 3,000 feet. They just told us to level off and they just gave us vectors back around. Okay, don't really think anything of it at the moment. So we come back around, we land uneventfully, another visual approach. We go to the gate, and I keep the door closed. So I look over to my FO. What happened? So he felt, the need to execute the go around because he didn't feel there was enough distance. Although there was, and with the company, it's like we're proactive. If you call go around, don't question it, just execute it and debrief it on the ground. So because when I'm talking to Tower, he had set the higher or the missed approach.
Yeah, missed approach altitude.
Missed approach altitude. I didn't see that he had did that. So they did give us a number to call. I talked to ATC, hey, let them know what's going on. There was never an issue that came out of it in itself, but I did write an ASAP report to the company. One, obviously, to cover myself, to cover him, and the fact that this happened. So he deviated from our brief. So he didn't execute what we had talked about. And because of that, we could have been potentially violated. But because ATC that day, they were feeling kind of kind and generous, they didn't make a bigger issue out of that.
Okay. All right. I like it. I think, again, another good story to use. This one, I think, can probably be shaped a little bit better. I think, again, not a bad. Let's take this question from good to great, right? You didn't answer it poorly, but I just want to make sure we clearly articulate and be able to express, hey, what's the SOP and problem that's being broken? Right? How did we get there? Let's show we're going to teach, empathize, and fix, right? You know what I'm saying? Remember the TEF method, right? So you want to know that, okay, what's the SOP that was broken? So now we have to empathize and understand, okay, well, what did this person do? Why did they do what they do? Maybe they were confused. Maybe it was busy. Maybe it was a long day. Maybe they hadn't flown the visual at this field, but let's express a little bit of empathy and give them some grace versus them just say, oh, well, they didn't do the right thing. Right? Because you want to be, as a captain, you want to be able to express grace and gratitude for the folks that you're flying with. And so now, all right, then I need to teach as well in that moment. Maybe I'm not teaching right then and there, but I can obviously teach when I get down on the ground and be able to talk about what happened. But in the moment, you're fixing the problem too. The person broke the SOP. You got to continue on and execute a go around. They call a go around and you get right back into your procedures. You're busting altitude, but you corrected it and you leveled off and you got with ATC. You came back around and landed and everything was okay and fine. But now it's time to get on the ground and let's figure out, hey, what happened here? And so just to be clear, what actually was the SOP that was broken? Is that you guys briefed up a visual?
We were briefed the visual approach.
Okay.
Tower cleared us for the visual approach.
Right. But what was supposed to be your missed approach altitude? Because if you get a visual.
So if it's a visual, it's going to be traffic pattern altitude, which is 1,600 feet at Houston, versus if you're shooting an ILS, the missed approach altitude is going to be 3,000 feet. So if you're going to execute the visual go around, two completely different altitudes.
Absolutely. Right. Completely understand that there. So either Tower gives you an altitude or you level off at the pattern altitude. And so you're saying, so you guys briefed it up, talked about what the altitude was going to be. You thought they spun in 1,600, or maybe you did see them spin in 1,600, but then at some point 3,000 got spun in, and now you guys are not doing and executing what it is you're supposed to go through.
Correct.
All right. And so I think that's where you sort of articulate, hey, here's what happened. This is what took place during this. So the SOP that member broke. So how you kind of form this story is that, hey, I'm flying, we're getting ready to land at X field, and we've been cleared the visual approach. It was understood and known, and that we briefed it up that, all right, we're flying the visual, and the missed approach altitude for the visual is going to be the pattern altitude, which is set to 1,600 feet. You guys set 1,600 feet. You guys confirmed it, and that was pretty much the end of it. As you're flying the approach, traffic was on the runway. They were vacating the runway. You probably still could have landed, so you kind of back and forth about that a little bit. Not really back and forth, but your first officer felt uncomfortable, and just as the first officer is supposed to do, if anybody's not feeling uncomfortable at any moment, they can just call go around. And so that's what your first officer did. You guys called a go around, and as you're in the climb, managing the jet and making sure that you're letting Tower know and trying to keep the aircraft runway heading and everything and doing the things that you're supposed to do, you start to realize in the FMA that, hey, the jet is not leveling off at 1,600 feet. And when you look up, you realize that at some point, the first officer had spun in incorrect level off altitude of 3,000, which was the instrument missed approach altitude. So at that point, you realize that your first officer made a mistake. They broke the SOP. And so at that point, you realize, okay, we are not doing what we're supposed to be doing. Well, it wasn't something that you're going to be able to address right then and there in that time. At that point, it's just, hey, let's level off. Let's talk to ATC. Let's talk to tower. Let's get vectors back around and let's land. We get on the ground. Once you get on the ground, we get in the chocks. Now it's time to talk about it and fix this problem and figure out, hey, where did we go wrong? What did we not do well in this moment? And that's where the debrief ensues. So you express gratitude. Hey, they got confused, hadn't flown a lot of visuals maybe, and just thought maybe we had been flying all ILSs for the trip. But whatever the reason being is that let's not victimize and say, hey, or it's not down them and say, you know, they weren't paying attention, they weren't doing the right thing, they should have known better, but more of a, and you didn't say those things, but it's more of a, not 100% sure why they spun in the wrong altitude.
Try to put yourself in that
but it's
situation.
in that situation, like give them that grace.
To teach and empathize with what they have going on.
Right. And so perhaps they got confused, but it's okay. You talked about, hey, here are the differences between the visual, here are the differences between the instrument approach. And I sort of explained that to them and showed them like, hey, here's why we do what we do. And here's why what we should have been done was correct. So after that, the first officer understood. You guys wrote up an ASAP report to let not only the company know, but let everybody else at large kind of know, hey, here's a mistake. Then somebody else might be able to learn from this. ATC, you guys made a phone call to them as well and talked to them about what went wrong, and nothing came of it. But it was certainly a teachable moment for everybody else involved. So that was the time you realized and witnessed somebody make a mistake and sort of break an SOP. But that's how you sort of correct it, right? So a little bit of a different vibe.
Yeah, I like that. Although you broke a rule, but you still just make that a teachable moment.
Yeah.
And that once again encapsulates the whole teaching and empathizing. And ultimately, you know, that helps not only that first officer, but the company and everybody else at large as well.
For sure. Great story, though. I love it. Another good story. So that was good. I like that one again. You're just shaping it in a little bit of a different way. So yeah, so we'll see if we can knock out a couple more here. Let's go with, how long have you been flying now?
Professionally since 2017.
Professionally since 2017. Okay. So being in this industry, obviously, we depend on mentors, and at the same time, we should be mentoring as well. And so do you have any moments where you've been able to help someone out, bring them along, and be a mentor to someone? Tell me about an experience like that.
As much as I love flying, you know, we all do. We all have the love of aviation and would not trade it for anything in the world. The feeling of revving up the throttles, you're getting ready to take off. But I've been a member of the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals for the last 14 years. And I have come up as a volunteer, worked with the ACE Academies in a few different cities. I'm currently an assistant regional director. I run our Los Angeles ACE Academy, but probably one of my, it's almost like a father figure crowning moments is a young lady that I met when I was new at Mesa Airline. Her mom introduced me to her. She's like, oh, you're a pilot. Okay. It's like, yes, I am. And where do you live? And I live in Los Angeles. Okay. Well, my daughter, she's interested in becoming a pilot. Is there anything you can do to help her? I sure can. When I get back from this trip, let's get together. So it's just like from there, we talk, we met, and it's like we've been family ever since. So, you know, I met her. She was a sophomore at the time in high school. And because I've been a part of OBAP, I know about our different programs.
Okay.
I recommended her to attend the Luke Weathers Solo Flight Academy. And at the time, it was a nice chunk of change. But however, with people that I know within the organization, her mom, we sponsored her and sent her to this academy where she was able to learn the academics, to be able to solo an airplane in 2 weeks. And she knocked it out of the park.
Nice.
So
nice.
That was just the very beginning. Since then, I've mentored her throughout high school. She developed her own aviation club, and I've mentored her through the college process. This year, she's a senior at Delaware State.
Yeah.
So she already went to college with her PPL, got her instrument. She has a commercial. She's done internships with United Airline.
Nice.
She just finished one with Alaska Airline.
Okay.
And it's like I've been there every step of the way.
Yeah.
And I look forward to graduation and, you know, all the wonderful things that are going to happen to her because I've been able to be there. Now, I also don't want to take any thunder away from other people that have helped her because it truly does take a village.
Mm-hmm.
And because she's been around this organization, these other people, she's like, Isaac, I want to do what you do. It's like, I can't wait to take over your position when I get, you know, to the 121 world. So that lets me know that I'm doing something right.
Right.
Because somebody has taking the time out given to me. And I feel it's my responsibility to reach back and pull someone up, from the next generation.
Hey, pilot, did you just get a new conditional job offer? Are you getting out of the military and going to move your family across the country? Are you going to move in base somewhere, or are you going to go out to find that second home that you've been looking for? Well, I want you to stop right now, pick up the phone, and call Marty and the team at Trident Home Loans. It's an organization that's run by pilots. They understand pilot pay. They understand contracts. They understand military. They have the best VA loans in the United States. Marty and his team have been doing mortgages for years. They've been doing my mortgages for years. I trust him and his team more than any other organization. I challenge you to get a better deal anywhere else. Go ahead, reach out, get a mortgage quote, and then call Marty and his team. They will walk you through the process and show you how competitive their rates are. So go right now, tridenthomeloans.com, and check them out.
Hey pilot, it's Nick. I want to tell you about a great friend of the show, Timothy P. Pope. He's a financial planner and he's completely focused on the professional pilot. He's the kind of guy you want to go to for real talk to help you figure out your financial future. With so many upgrades and so many transitions and so many things going on, you owe it to yourself to give him a call. He'll help you design and execute really smart financial planning strategies, whether it's retirement planning, investment management, military transition, tax planning. He's a great financial planning partner. Timothy P. Pope, CFP, helping professional pilots make the most out of life. Give him a shout. All the information's in the show notes. You should definitely tell him I told you to call.
Hey, pilot, does your pilot uniform make a short flight feel like a transcon slog? Flight uniforms have reinvented aviation shirts with 3D stretch, stain repellents, and no wrinkles. These shirts are just plain comfortable and ready for takeoff right out of your rollerboard. Flight Uniform is trusted by more than 25,000 pilots, and their flagship flight shirt has over 1,500 five-star reviews. I've worn every pilot shirt out there, and if you know me, you know I only wear flight uniforms. Be the envy of every cockpit at flightuniform.com and get a special podcast exclusive discount with the code SpitfirePod20 to take 20% off your first order. That's SpitfirePod20, all one word, for 20% off your first order at flightuniform.com.
Nice. Perfect. That's that last part. That's the key part. So this is more of it's a simplified question. Everybody should have somebody either that they mentored or somebody who's come along and mentored them. But the important part of answering this question is understanding that service part of being a mentor and the reason that you do it and like why is that important, right? And so that's what I want to know, because every person who's sitting in that flight deck in the left seat, in some form or way, they're a mentor, right?
Whether it's good or bad. Yeah.
Exactly, right? And when you wear those 4 stripes on your sleeve, people are looking at you. They see you, they observe you, they want to be like you, and they're looking up to you. And so you bear the responsibility of being a good steward of the opportunity to sit in that left seat and now help somebody else get to where you're trying to be. And that's what this question is digging into, right? Without asking that directly, I want to know, have you been a mentor? And do you value those relationships of being a mentor? And is that something that you really want to continue to do if you're going to be working for my organization? Because I want to build leaders. I want to build mentors. I want other people to be great and aspire to bring great people to join our organization. And are you willing to do that? That's the question, right? And that's why understanding the importance of mentorship is absolutely pivotal. And that's how you answer that. So that last piece of really expressing, like, why is this important? Why being a mentor is important. Okay, I've done some mentorship, but here's what it means to me to be a mentor and why it's important to be one. All right, so really, really nice answer. I like that one here. Let's see, let's go with another one. And I'll just give you one more. Tell me about a time that you've had to, actually, real quick, how's your conflict resolution story? You feeling good on that? Like time you've had a conflict in the flight deck or a time that you've had so that's a common one. I don't want to waste your time if you feel like you're pretty good with it, but that is certainly a common question that comes about. Then this next one here is a common one as well. Tell me a time that you had to make a decision with not all the information.
Okay. See, today the goal was to go from Houston to LaGuardia. All right, so we're going from Houston to LaGuardia, and This was supposed to be a 2-leg night, day 4, Houston, LaGuardia, LaGuardia back to Houston. Because there was a flow going into LaGuardia, we were delayed a couple hours. All right, no problem. It's kind of what you expect going into LaGuardia. However, on this day, there was also weather between Houston and LaGuardia. So eventually, we board, we take off, we're in cruise. We also, this day, happen to have a jump seater with JetBlue, but had been a previous Czech airman with SkyWest on the Embraer 175, which is the aircraft I'm on at the time as a captain. All right, so we're already hearing radio chatter about aircraft holding a little bit further up northeast. It's like, all right, so talking with the FO, all right, this might happen to us. So we might want to get a game plan together now. So sure enough, they give us holding instructions, and they're talking about an EFC of 50 minutes. So we'd already done a couple turns in the hold. All right, we're going to deviate. So today's alternate was Philadelphia. So listening to the radio, just tribal knowledge, I know we have another company aircraft that's behind us that's going to Philadelphia. So this airport, it's not a United hub, so their gates are already limited. There's weather that's about to be there. So, okay, can we go to Dulles? Nope, we see the weather. It's already socked in right now with weather. And even if it wasn't, the airport is just notoriously slow with service. So not somewhere else I want to go. So where else could we go? Richmond was an option. Never really liked the service there either. But Norfolk, I know they have gates open. So he was really wanting to go to Philadelphia. Hey, this is my reason for wanting to go to Norfolk. We'll get on the ground and we'll discuss my reason why. So we get vectors, we land to Norfolk, and they let us know it's going to be an hour for fuel. So we land, grab our fuel, and eventually we do take off going to LaGuardia. And from there, we go from LaGuardia back to Houston. So we're done for the night. We can't go anywhere because we're after midnight, we're both commuters. So we kind of debrief into what happened. So as a captain, I have a little bit more experience than my first officer, and he wasn't able to kind of figure out why I wanted to go to this airport because, I'd been at this airline a few more years from experience and kind of knowing the operations. He didn't understand kind of all the pieces of the puzzle that I was thinking.
Okay. So what was the question? It's okay. It's okay. That's why we do this. All right. So the question was, tell me about a time that you had to make a decision without all the information.
And I had all the information.
You had all the information. Sounds like you had all the information. Yeah, your decision was solid. But here's how you can shape that a little bit. Whether you use that same story or not, essentially you made a decision to divert, right?
Right.
Did you have all the information when you were able to make that decision to divert? Right? You might have had some previous knowledge that you were leaning on, but were there some things that you had to sort of assume about the going there before you made that decision, right? So that could be a way that you shape that. Maybe there's another situation like you having to go around or someone calling go around and you're kind of like, okay, well, I'm just going to follow this lead and have to go ahead and execute this go around. I'm not quite sure at this time why we're doing it, but I know my training and my experience leads me to following demands. That's a paramount. That's an instance where you're not going to question what's going on. There's a lot of different situations like that. Hey, whether you're taxiing out, you're backing out from the field, and you don't have everything that you need, and you're missing something, but you're trying to decide, all right, am I going to continue to taxi out and go take off, or do I need to pull back in the chocks, or do I sit here and just sort of wait? So think about some of those moments where you've had to sort of make a decision, but there were some missing pieces that you might not have had. You had to kind of take a little bit of risk. And so that's what we're asking, right? Have you had an opportunity to really take some risk and not have all the answers? And like, what do you lean on and how do you get to a decision without having all the information that you have, right? There's a risk management to that, right? I'm not going to risk life and limb, right?
Right.
But if I need to take a little bit more time to push back or take a takeoff clearance, then maybe I do that. Or if I don't want to take up a little bit more time and I got 10 people behind me, but there's something else that I might be missing that I'm working on, Are you accepting that risk to be able to go out and take off? Or are you kind of like, you know what, let me hold back a little bit and figure out more of what's going on? Or I have enough information to go ahead and forth and take off, and the rest of the information, I can go ahead and get the rest of it in the air, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's just, think about some of those type moments, all right? You can come back to that one a little bit, all right? We'll go on without that one, and let's see if we can do something else. All right, so how you feeling on your technical?
Obviously, work with JEP, so
Yeah.
comfortable with the SIDS, with the stars, climb via,
Okay.
descend via.
How about the abnormal scenarios issues? So like if you get an emergency, you kind of understand, all right, I do have the Banksy squared acronym that I put out in the videos. Like everybody has their own little mantra, but essentially, hey, let me slow down, run boldface or immediate action items, aviate, make sure the aircraft is in a desired state, pass off the aircraft control if I need to, navigate, am I going to remain on course, am I going to go in the hold, am I start a descent, am I going to return and take a vector back toward the airfield, and then checklist. Make sure you call for the checklist. A lot of people kind of miss out on that stuff, all right? And then after I run the checklist and we bring this thing to a logical conclusion and we have some conversations, now it's time to communicate to the passengers, to my crew, to the ATC, to dispatch, and then we come up with a game plan to close this thing out. So we don't have to go into that if you're feeling pretty good. I think overall, man, Isaac, I don't know what the concern was, but I think you're doing well. You have the knowledge. You have the confidence. You articulate your words in the way that they need to be articulated. Now, obviously, understand and making sure that you grasp the question, understand the question, and answer the question appropriately. That's just a part of interviewing. Nerves start to get to you. Just sort of take your time. And if you feel like you have to ask the question again, make sure that you take your time and say, okay, hey, I just want to make sure that I understand what the question is.
That's something I didn't do with that last question. I want to repeat the question
Exactly.
back to you,
Exactly.
to make sure, okay, did I repeat that back to you? That lets you know, okay, Isaac, you heard, and I'm confirming, with you.
Absolutely. And I know some of the interviewers would do that and say, hey, before you get started, I just want to make sure, do you understand the question? Right. And that's kind of like their emphasis of throwing you like a mulligan of saying, hey, this might be a little bit of a tricky question to answer. Just make sure that you understand and have your story together to be able to hit the points of answering. Okay. How you feeling, Isaac?
I think I'll be better with some rest tonight.
Exactly. Get some rest, relax, get you a good meal. Like I said, we're 24 hours out. This was just meant to be a little bit of top off, just a little bit of a confidence boost. I think you're ready, man. I think you're ready. Again, sound good. You look good. You play good, right? You say, well, look good, feel good.
Deion Sanders.
Deion say, what is it? Feel good, look
if
good.
If you look good, you feel good, you play good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You feel good or you look good, feel good, play good. All right. So let's go out. You already look good, right? You cleaned up, got a haircut, get you some rest. You're going to feel good. Tomorrow morning when you show up for your interview, it'll be time to play good. All right, man. You good to go?
Yep.
All right, Isaac. Nice job, man.
All right.
I'm glad we're able to kind of get a chance to get together and work a little bit. And we're signing off. This is it. All right.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, pilots, that's the episode. I hope you've really enjoyed it. But before you go, do me a quick favor, subscribe to my show and leave me a review. Give me a 1-star review if it was totally worthless. Give me a 5-star review if it was the most amazing thing you've ever heard. I want to hear from you. So if you can give me a review, subscribe to the podcast, make yourself a little bit better, I will be happy. You'll be happy. We'll keep crushing. I cannot wait to see you on the next episode.